It makes it look
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes watching that when the camera's not close, you can't really see the real speed and everything. All
yeah.
right, well, let's get into it. We got the RDN Roller Show back in action. We got a, little World Roller Games update, or World Skate Games, I guess you could say, updates, the World Championships. But first, Anth Merrigan, know you're not at NERC right now, probably at home. How's it going? How's the steel mat at NERC too? You guys finally got to skate on it?
It's sick. It's like it for me, it's funny because yeah, just like a lot of house league guys, they don't leave your home rink and they've all been skating on like an old ice court that was all just mangled at this point. And the first game they stepped on it, they're like, what the is
Probably
going.
has like better condition on your wheels too. Your wheels are gonna
Oh
last a
yeah,
long
for
time.
sure. But they were just like it's a whole difference. The best way someone described it to me was like playing indoor for the first time when you've been playing outdoor your whole life. That's like how someone described it to me. And then and it was just like awesome because all these guys had just struggled, like even just like catching a pass, like making a flat pass before it would like skip and stuff. And it was kind of like the old Colorado rink, the Thunder's old rink, and it was the same ice court as that, and like
Yeah.
that was like so unpredictable. And this is just like so much better. So the rink's like actually honest now, which is awesome. And we just got the goal lines and hash marks just came in, so now it's like officially done, and a lot of stress off my back. So
There you go. NERC
great.
East Coast got another nice rink now. Hopefully you can hold some more tournaments there. Maybe we might throw a RDN tourney there, you know?
You've been mustering up some things.
Liberty Bell Classic or whatever that thing's called in Philadelphia that we got there. Um dude, I remember Tate, do they have the duck boat tour still there?
Yeah, no, it crashed.
It crashed when
Like,
I was
yeah,
there for
like
Team USA, like it was AAU Team USA back in 2008 or 9 at Feaster.
yeah, Junior
Yeah,
Olympics.
yeah,
Yeah.
dude, hella went on that. I was on the duck boat.
It like crashed pretty bad. I don't know if they still do it honestly, but I remember there was like a really bad accident with it, so I haven't seen it in a while. But
That's
yeah,
hilarious.
it's sore subject, I guess.
All right. Well, I know sounds like a Philly fan ain't too happy about that. So let's move on to World Championships there. So we already had junior women's closeout, we had senior women's closeout, and we just had junior men's closeout as well. And I think every single division has like been pretty unpredictable, especially junior men's. We'll get into the junior men's, but that's like who knew Slovakia was going to come down from, Pool C to win it all.
That's crazy. I wonder
So
if that's the first time that ever happened. Like a bottom pool came in and won. Like it had to happen at some point, but that's
yeah.
pretty remarkable that they were able to pull that off.
Well, let's get into the senior women's. I know we talked about kind of a little bit the junior women's last pod. So the senior women's, I guess, after junior women's kind of kicked off the World Skate Games because when they were there, that's when like the World Skate Games officially got underway. I think
All
it was
the other
like
sports and stuff like that.
yeah. So USA ended up beating Spain in that gold medal game. That was an unbelievable game. But even just the run there were so many, you wouldn't say like upsets, but they were definitely like some really good games. If you want to, talk about them.
Yeah, so I mean, just kind of like focusing on like, even just look at your final four. You had France, USA, Canada, Spain, which you kind of expect most of those teams to, kind of be there in at least in the conversation. But even like throughout, we talked about it a little bit, like Namibia's got a pretty good team and USA handled them pretty well. USA was just on a tear. Like at some point, they figured out the scoring after the first game. They've just figured out the scoring and they just went on a tear and kind of terrorized the division for the most part until they got to the final game there. But, with the senior women, it was cool to see how many countries are in it. It's just grown. There was 21 teams. So that's
Insane.
awesome. That's like awesome to see that they're as big, the women's divisions now as big as the men's divisions have been. So, the fact that it's growing that much is a testament to how big the sport's getting, but also how big just women's roller hockey is getting in general. So internationally, right? Not just here in the States, we see it all the time, but internationally it's growing. So really awesome to see. And then those playoff games were intense. I mean, there's obviously going to be a couple blowouts, like Mexico got blown out by Spain, but every other game, was pretty much a game. So
Yeah.
it was good to see.
Yeah. I mean, USA France, that game could have been a championship game along with the Spain USA game. Both games are really good and really tight. That championship game, though, that's kind of one of the game I want to talk about most is that game was unreal to watch. I would say probably the best, women's game, or even like one of the best games, period, men, women's, anything.
Oh, yeah.
This year, there were a lot of great games at the pro, at Narch State or at Palma Pro at State Wars and Tours, but I mean, this game had everything too. And, Spain was coming back till the very end too. So both very highly skilled teams too. Like
Oh,
they
yeah.
both have just the skill in Spain is unreal. And it's a testament to their league they have there, the Liga Elite, for the
Yeah.
men's and women's side. So you can definitely see that helping the European side. If you look at it, Spain and France are the only two, I guess you could say, countries that have pro leagues for men's and women's.
Yep.
And they're in the conversation every single time. So the player development for those countries is huge. But, hats off to USA. That was just like you said, they were just on a mission. They're rolling on all cylinders. It looked like it was a mix of Palma and Ringster, and it was just such a well fit. It
Yeah.
was unbelievable.
So real quick on the Spain thing, I know that like in the Spanish league, they do focus a lot more now on keeping Spanish players playing in the league instead of bringing in so many imports. So that's obviously working, right? So just to your point, and then yeah, I mean for the US team, we talked about it, pretty extensively over like several podcasts. Their team was pretty stacked. Right, all things considered, you had, like you said, a mix of the Ringster girls, a mix of the Palma girls, and the fact that they all came together, two teams that always battle it out against each other in the state tournaments, that they came together, they were able to find chemistry throughout the tournament. And like you said, that game, I mean, it was back and forth, goal for goal, so it was awesome. There's penalties, there was
A little
physical.
soft refing though. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
think that's
mean,
just what you're gonna get. But
that's always international refing.
yeah,
It's
it's
always
just
even watching some games today, I was like, what is going on here? Like, and we
yeah.
talked about it with Darren, I think a little bit. The standards are so different from country to country, right? So it's like, I guess it is hard to come up with a kind of a standard, right? But the refing, can be very soft overseas. I mean, I went through it, when we played Italy in Argentina, like just erroneous calls left and right, like they kind of blew the game for us. Let's just be call spade a spade. But it was good, the penalties did, with being such a big rink, it did create like these power play scenarios that were super important if you got the penalty kill. And USA
Yeah.
was able to kill off like 3 penalties at the end of the game in that championship game that could have swung that. Imagine if they just scored one or two of those, it would have swung that entire game since it was only a 1 goal game. And USA and Spain have such a heated rival in the women's division that you expected like there to be penalties each ways. But if you look at it, just like on the score sheet, it's all USA penalties. So it is a little bit sus.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then you had, the USA took the gold medal, Spain silver, France bronze, and Canada fourth place. Canada had a very strong women's team too, as well, coming out. But yeah, those four top teams were, I guess you could expect it, but they were very talented teams. And the teams that going into that, you would probably say, yeah, that's gonna who's
Yeah,
gonna in the
and then
semis.
and then you had the Namibia, you had Mexico. Like shout out to Mexico. Like they've
Dude,
been
they
they've
got
been
a
kind of
great
all over
program.
the men's, juniors, and women's league.
Yeah,
Like,
what is going on in like Mexico?
I don't know.
They're
I
nasty.
don't know what they're doing down there, but they're. I mean, I remember like when I was
Like I would
playing.
have thought Italy would probably be higher just because I know Italy has a
Agreed.
good league and Italy is,
Yeah,
they have
agreed.
a good player development. You see all these other countries,
Absolutely.
but
I
yeah,
don't.
huge shout out to Mexico.
I don't know what's going on, but like they used
Nah,
to be like all the bottom pools, and the fact that they're finishing like sixth, fifth, like all these higher, rankings, it's awesome to see.
yeah. So, and then let's do a little shout out to Ali Era. She got the MVP of the tournament, as well. She scored the first goal for USA, and then
Yep.
Laura scored the second goal, which was the game winner, for USA. Which both unbelievable, plays. Kyla dished it straight to Ali. Ali top shelf.
Yep.
And that just got the girls going, and you could just tell, and it's kind of funny, like it's just hilarious, like watching these girls. Like you see, like them battle on the rink and shit talk, right? And it's just like with the men's, but these girls, I think, have a little more heated rivalry than the guys.
Oh,
to be honest.
it's nasty.
It's
Yeah.
nasty.
Yeah.
But you just see him like obviously they put it the difference aside. You see him selling, and it's just it's
It,
fucking tight. It's sick, and
Did you see the one game? I think it was in the gold medal game. I could be mistaken, but they basically had a hot mic on the USA women's bench, and it was Jen Freeman, and
oh, she was going off.
she was going off, and there was f bombs and everything
Yeah,
being dropped, and they're like, but it was like kind of funny because I don't know if that was supposed to happen because they don't
yeah.
commentate in every game, but they did have commentary in that game, and they kind of just like let it sit for the timeout, and then
Dude,
women
she got
were
the girls pumped. She was going.
she I was about to run through the computer screen just
Yeah.
like you know what I mean, being Rockarasso. But yeah, it was like you're saying, it was like heated. So it was pretty cool to see like almost like a 24/7, like
Yeah.
raw film type of thing. And I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but it was awesome. It was like one of my favorite moments of like the women's like tournament. So
Yeah, it was awesome. All right, well, let's move it into junior men's now. Junior men's, I think, was probably the biggest surprise of all the divisions we've had so far. Completely different of what you would think. All right, can these people just stop sending us in this group chat? I'm about to. I'm
this
about
group
to.
chat is just too
Yeah,
much.
this
It,
group
I'm,
chat.
I'm on DND right now.
Yeah, we're getting out of there. Okay, I'm down there, Barry Needler. All right, junior men's. I completely. I'll be honest. I thought it was going to be more of probably like a USA, like, I don't know why I thought Chinese Taipei was going to get back there. I'm going to go ahead and just go out there and say it. I honestly
Yeah.
thought they were, but Slovakia comes from Pool B along with Spain as well. They were the both bottom teams that made it out. Um, One thing I do want to talk about, and the biggest surprise I think in the junior men's division, Team Canada. I mean, how did they take like Team Canada? Canada in general is known for hockey, right?
Yeah.
They do
Yeah.
great always at world tournaments. I mean, they do top 10. Okay. This Canada team got blown out. We're talking 18-0, 19-0. And I'm not like dogging the players, not dogging Team Canada organization, but like what is going on? That's not Team Canada. You know what I mean? Especially
Yeah.
when you have a lot of these players like from the Zulu that went and just won Narch Platinum 18U.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just weird to see. And I understand it's a very different time of year. A lot of ice hockey starting now. So now you can't get probably the top players that are going to play. But that's the least I never thought that they were going to get blown out back-to-back games,
Yeah,
18
but
or
like
19-0.
I mean, there was 12-2 against Great Britain, right? Like
Yeah, that's
and
it.
8 to like I know they beat like, they had a couple wins in there, but like man, like Canadian pride with hockey, and I'm sure every Canadian, whether you're on the team or not, can agree with us on this. Like there's a stronger sense of pride there when it comes to hockey, whether it's
Yeah. I mean, you
deck
saw our
hockey.
DMs. Our DMs were like going insane.
It was nuts. And like you have to kind of talk about it because it's like, what is going on there? Like they're not losing like a tight game to France, like 3-0, right?
Losing
It's
19-0, and then Team
19-0.
Colombia,
That's
and nothing
crazy.
nothing against Team Colombia. They're great. They have a great
No, they
program
work their
too.
asses off.
They
Yeah.
do. But you shouldn't lose 18-0 to Colombia when you're Team Canada.
And again, like I and I feel like I can attest to this because like I played USA in the early years where they
Play
weren't
Team USA
like
West 16s,
yeah,
14s. Like, come
well,
on.
that's up. But even when I went away to these world championships, right? Like we didn't have the strongest teams. Like we might not have finished first or second, right? We're finishing third. The
Yeah.
our senior, we finished third, right? Our team was very
You're
strong
not
that year.
getting 38
But
goals against in 2 games.
yeah, exactly. Like that's like ridiculous.
And it's
And
not dogging the players. We're not dogging them. It's just asking what's going on with the
what's
organization.
going on? Yeah,
Yeah,
simply.
as a
And it's and
whole.
it's been a question we've had for a couple of years now at this point.
Yeah. So
And
and it's something you could even like talk about. We're going to talk about the senior men's coming up right now, or coming up. But they just lost to Mexico 3-1. I love the boys. I have respect for all those boys on that team, especially my boy Matty Garb.
yeah.
Um, but it's just a question you got to ask, like, what is going on? Why aren't they putting the best? Like, hey, where's Jimmy
Well,
Teed and Lane Hartwell?
and especially because a few years ago, I think it was the 2020 year when it was in Italy, they were in the championship game against Czech.
Yeah,
And they had guys like Baumgartner, they had T, they had Lane, they had um
Abamont, Foster.
yeah, they had all these guys on that team, right? Like, why aren't these guys? We'll get into the men, I guess, in a bit,
Yeah.
but like to your point, like, what is
We'll
going
get
on?
back on junior men's, but yeah, it's just the biggest surprise of that division was Team Canada placing 15th. Why just I mean, China took 12th. It's just you got to
Yeah,
ask questions. Okay, so I want to talk about though that USA team. We talked to Darren. We had Darren on the podcast. I think we stroked off USA a little. We stroked him off.
yeah,
And
we're American.
yeah, we're American. I
That's what
don't
we
think
do.
they disappointed either, but that game against Spain was like it was just a battle. Spain was hot. Spain was hot, and I've said this a lot. Sometimes when you have a weaker schedule, it does affect you. Going
Yeah,
into that, USA did play. Um, they had that Mexico game, and then I believe they had where was the quarterfinals game? They had the Mexico 7-3 game and
China.
China, and that was a blowout, and it was kind of that's hard to get turn around and play Spain when Spain is like I said, like we were just saying,
Workhorses, like, yeah, they work their balls off. Like,
unbelievable goalie too, stood on his head
yeah,
that game. So, not only are you playing against Spain, you have to adjust your style to that European style, which is always going to be hard without, the boys like to talk, you could tell. Well, some of them got
yeah,
some penalties, I'm sure for
oh yeah.
unsportsmanlike and stuff, but that USA team was highly skilled. It was really fun to watch. Uh, but they ran into a hot Spain team, and that's hard to do. And I think we all know that what happens in the playoffs when you run into a hot team, you got to bring it.
I mean, it's exactly it. I think you hit the nail on the head. Like there wasn't like a ton of shots back and forth, and that's even when it becomes harder because when you're not getting a ton of looks, right? And with the rink being so big, usually when there's international events, the rinks aren't always like NHL size, but they're smaller than that. This is an international size rink, so there's not a ton of action. There's not a lot of shots being thrown at the net. Coupled in the fact that there's the smaller nets where some of these European countries, this is what they're playing on year round versus the US boys, they're playing on NHL size goals. So that's going to factor into it as well. And then it just sucked because USA did get that one back to tie it up, and then they gave one right back up on the same power play. So they scored shorthanded. Shout out to my boy Corey Kozik, the shorthanded goal. My boy from the NERC repping out, and unfortunately they wound up giving one right back. But like you said, we talked about it like throughout the whole summer with some of the pro teams that like have weird playoff games, and it just happens. I bet you if you play that game, 9 times out of 10, USA probably does come out on top, right? But in this game, unfortunately, they didn't, which led to what we've been kind of like touching on is like just a shocker of a
Yeah,
championship game. Two
yeah.
teams that
Then
like you probably didn't expect in there.
no, I mean, they're in the bottom two pools. You had Slovakia versus Spain. And going into that, Spain, I mean, Slovakia, the road to the championship for Slovakia was crazy. They beat France 2-1, which I kind of was going to predict USA and France in that championship game.
That's what I thought. Yep.
Slovakia won 2-1 in that game. Ran into another hot Italy team. Italy was good. They had a great goaltender too. Uh,
Yeah.
they beat them 6-3. The Slovakia team could just shoot the puck, and they put the pucks on, and their goalie was a stud. I've said that
Yep.
about every team, but every team's goalies showed out. And
Yeah.
his name was Luka Frakatic for Slovakia. Absolute stud. And
Pretty
then,
good pronunciation by you there.
yeah, dude, I'm just
Those names aren't hard. Czechs and Slovakians, those names can get difficult.
Luka Frakatic. And then Slovakia played Spain in that championship game, which went to overtime.
Yeah.
And Slovakia scored on a weird goal. I don't know if you like saw that replay, but it was they shot it, hit the boards, came back out, and literally right there for the guy to throw it back in.
And,
And
and that's it. That's another thing with the international events. You never know what you're getting with the boards or glass. Like in this scenario, there is no glass. It's
yeah,
netting.
it like came out and then went to the top, and this guy
Yep.
walked in, boom.
Yeah, so you never know what you're getting with the international events, but again, everybody's playing on the same rink. I know for me, when I played in Argentina, we had to play on the rink with the netting as the glass. It was so weird when you'd miss. It didn't make a sound. It would kick straight back out. It like on normal glass, kind of kicks to the side or something. So
Yeah.
it is different. But the Slovaks, I mean, they always have good goaltending. They always have shooters, and that got them through in this one. And again, like you look at some of these scores of the championship games, a pretty high scoring championship game, 4-3.
Yeah.
Typically for international 2-1 with the women's we just saw. So yeah, it was shout out to the Slovaks for, jumping up a pool, going through probably a harder schedule than normal, which may have helped them. Like to your point earlier about sometimes we play the easier teams, you let your guard down a little bit. That probably helped them having to play up into all these challenging games, right? All these teams that are technically a notch above them. And then they came out on top. So huge congratulations to them. I wonder if that's their first. I would like to know.
Yeah, I think it is
It
their
has to
first,
be,
like,
right?
yeah, the world championship for like junior men's.
For junior men, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So
Another surprise too, and that was Czech took 10th. That's another team you kind of see. They, like I said, it's a hard time of year for everybody to get like the best players, especially the heavy ice, countries, especially
yeah,
Canada, Czech, Slovakia, Sweden. There was no Sweden team I didn't see in juniors, which is weird too,
no,
but
yeah.
they're more of a heavy ice,
Yeah, and
yeah, I
and we
guess you
haven't
could
seen
say.
like Sweden or Finland, and Finland's never really been in the world skate side of things.
Yeah,
Always
double
been on the
I's.
lies, but
Yeah,
like Sweden always has a men's team. We usually get to see them, and they're usually in the
they're
bottom
doing
to play up.
they're
Yeah,
hot right now.
yeah, they're hot right now. But like you said, Chinese Taipei a little bit of a surprise, but I think a lot of those kids have aged out, and they're now playing on the men's team, who we'll get into in a little bit. So again, but you're seeing different countries, which is the coolest thing. Like we talked about Mexico and Namibia, you're seeing these teams finish in this top 8, which is where you want to be to stay in your pool A and B. So you're
Yeah,
seeing some new countries get in there. So you see like Mexico, they grabbed an 8th seed. They're staying in that top bracket now, which is cool.
yeah. I was looking at the Chinese Taipei. My boy. I don't know if I'm gonna get the name
Um,
right. Uh, Bo Wee Woo. Bo Wee Woo. He's, I think, number 29. He scored the goal against USA today.
yeah,
Dude,
he
he's
was on the he
nasty.
was on the junior team a couple years ago.
Yeah,
And
he's
the
nasty.
team are pretty like they're the players for the men's team. So
Yeah, I think they're all like 20 years old. 20, 22. We got a 34
we're
year old.
rocking the three wheels like the entire team besides one guy accounted today. I think was
Yeah,
it one guy didn't have the three-wheel skates.
yeah, I saw that. All right, well, let's move on to the senior men's now. Okay. Congratulations, Slovakia. We got senior men's coming up. We're in day 2. We just finished day 2 of the senior men's. And you got your group A, group B, group C, and D. Group A, you got Czech, Slovakia, Italy, and Spain. To be honest with you, I think that's just a death pool. Those teams could any one of them can beat each other, which is crazy to say. Spain, they're 0-2 right now, which, they're a younger team this year with their program. But
Yeah.
Czech 2-0, Slovakia 1-1, Italy 1-1, and Spain, like we just said, went 0-2.
Going to. And
Yeah,
they gave the Czechs, and again, first game of the tournament, but they gave the Czechs a little bit of struggles in that first game. Like Czechs didn't
dude.
score till pretty like
Yeah,
far into the game. So they can always skate, those Spanish teams. Like they can always skate. So they're always
I mean, it was
conditioned.
period. They didn't score until the second period. It was 0 to
Right.
0, and then
Yeah, I was watching the game. So, like, I mean, that is a death pool division where, like, even the Slovaks today, like, it was what was it? Wound up being 5-2 or something like that,
it
or
was a
five.
lot closer. Slovakia was starting to put it on them too late in the
Yeah,
end.
they did.
Mhm.
They have shooters though, and their goalie played sick too. He had like these two saves, like bang bang plays in front of the net, and those checks are deadly. I think they talked about on the commentary that the checks, one of the things they do is they pass really well, and they sometimes
We got to
overpass.
talk about that commentary, dude.
Oh my
Peter
man,
Work got to get out of there. Hey, World Skate, if you need my boy Anthony and me,
get
I'll
me in
do
there.
color. Get Anthony doing some play
I
by
feel I
play.
feel like I'm watching like an epic movie or something sometimes.
Hey, and he's just in your wheelhouse drinking your old beer. I'm like, what is he saying? The guy's
What's
like,
going on? He's out to
Garrett
lunch.
Ross was behind a defender today, and the guy starts talking about how Garrett Ross is in their house drinking his own beer, inviting himself in. And I'm like, what are we talking about?
What
I
is
thought
going
we
on?
were like,
And I know they bring in like I think Hammond sometimes
I
hops
like
on
Hammond
there.
on there. Hammond's good.
Yeah, but they know they're knowledgeable, right? They know a lot
Yeah.
about it. And again, it's hard because some of these countries, these guys are only playing like one tournament a year, right? So like
Yeah.
you're not really seeing a ton of them, but like some of the stuff I was watching with one of my buddies today, and he was just like, "What are we like?" He like walked up my stairs to my office, and he's like, "What are you watching?" Like he had no clue what was going on until he walked in the room. He's like, "This is an international event."
Dude,
Like,
But they didn't do no announcing for USA Chinese Taipei. I'm like, come on, World Skate, what's going on
They're
there?
probably afraid of the names, honestly. They're probably like, we're gonna get a bunch of these
Woo
names.
bow wee.
Let,
True.
let it be.
Um, all right. Well, so we'll go over day one. USA won 11-0 against Argentina. Pretty much no surprise there, I guess you could say. Oh,
Yeah. There we
I
go.
need to go into focus. Am I
There
in
you go.
focus? All right.
Looking good.
Am I good?
Yes. Yeah, it's still blurred out.
All right. Here we go.
Thousand tribulations of the live stream, live show, whatever you want to
All
call
right.
it.
Whatever. I don't really care. Slovakia beat Italy 4-2. And then you had France beat Chinese Taipei 4-0. Day two, starting off, like we were just talking about earlier, Canada or Mexico took out Canada 3-1, which I mean, like I said, very surprising. I
Yeah.
wouldn't think Team Mexico is going to beat Canada just based off its Team Canada, but Mexico has a strong organization, like we saw with their juniors and their women's as well too. They're on the come up. So, hey, I guess there's a new person in North America knocking on the door.
I guess so. And hey, shout out to my boy Eric Torres. He had a
Yeah.
big go there. I saw that. He's the man. I always like, go back to Narch. One of our boys needed a shower. He had his Airbnb, let us come over, shower before we got on our flight and stuff. So he's always gonna hold a little special place there with me. But yeah, I mean, again, you have a lot of like it looks like the Western Canadian boys. So like again, what's going on with Canada? Like, why aren't some of these other guys playing? Like, I know Abamont's not like playing ice anymore, so why isn't he on the team?
Foster.
Foster,
Why
why isn't he
Teed's
playing?
literally in
Baumgartner?
Spain.
Like,
Why isn't Teed like
yeah, it's and again, it's not against the players. Like I played in those years with USA, like where we had, there was guys that weren't playing, like they were all doing double IHF at the time, right? So the USAR team was always a little, I'm call a spade a spade. It was always a little weaker, and kind of seems like I don't know what's going on there, but there's no double I, so there's no excuse, right?
yeah.
So I don't
Sometimes
know
maybe
what's
you need
going
some
on.
shake up within an organization or something,
That's
and
it. That's
that
that's what it comes down to. That's
yeah.
exactly it. The nail on the head with it. Maybe it's just a little shake up, different eyes on it, different
Yeah.
some maybe recruiting,
Dude,
right?
because you think
That's
about it,
all.
there's so many like veterans in Canada inline. Let's just take Leggett, for example, that dude, you could build a crazy coaching staff with
Yeah,
the people you have there. I mean, like Thomas Woods. Hey, he's a great captain for your team. Okay.
yeah,
You
yeah,
got Leggett there on one of your assistant, as assistant coach. He could still play, right? But you do
yeah,
have some other up and comers that you see with Lane and Teed as well, too, that
yeah,
would be there. But having someone like Leggett that's been at the double I's, that plays, pro hockey, that understands the game on a
oh
coaching
yeah,
staff, being there with you. You see it in Greg Thompson and Tim McManus, the way that the benches ran there, right?
yep.
So it's just
And they're actively recruiting the entire year, right? Like they're
exactly.
getting guys to commit to this months and months and
Hey,
months.
I'm just gonna go out and say it right now, too. I don't even care. This is the RDN roller show, and this is what we're here to do. And I'm probably gonna get chirped for this and probably DM. Don't give a shit. But
Yeah,
why is Pablo Navarro coaching Team Canada when he's a Brazilian? Like, not like it just doesn't make sense. So
yeah,
you just have, and you just have people in the position there. Like, what? It just doesn't make sense that Pablo Navarro is coaching Team Canada right now.
yeah. And like what happened? Like it was only like 3 years ago, technically, right? Like two world
But
championships ago
yeah,
where they were like very competitive.
yeah,
Like,
this guy's probably gonna hate me, and I don't care. But that's the point of the podcast and the point of the things to talk about what's going on in hockey. And I know that is a thing that's going on, and I know maybe some people don't like the way that the coach, just like Torts, people don't like the way he coaches in the NHL. They're vocal about it. So it is what it is, baby. Welcome to the Artie and Roller Show. Rob is
not here.
hot tonight.
Rob
So
is not. It's late.
hey, and like I said, I'll stick
Fired
up for
up.
my Canadian boys. So I just had to lay that out there.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're gonna move on. Group C is a banger of a group. Um, Belgium, Sweden, Mexico, and Brazil snuck away with wins, but Belgium ended up winning 11-1 against India. Sweden 9-2 against Poland, and Sweden has a good team. I think
Yeah.
they have a pretty
They're
strong
probably
team
going to
this year.
jump up. Yeah. They're
Yeah,
probably going to crosses over.
and then you got Mexico, which Mexico is beating Canada. That's huge for your confidence.
Oh, yeah.
The way when I think it was Spain when they beat Team USA in junior men's semifinals, they acted like they won the cup. They're
Yeah.
throwing their gloves up, which you got to understand because you're beating USA, you're beating Team Canada, you're beating the pinnacle of the sport, sort of say,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
I get it.
origin of it. Yeah,
Yeah. So Mexico tomorrow they play Australia. That's huge for them. That's huge confidence going into
huge
that game.
game. Yeah.
So
So yeah, I mean that's gonna be interesting, man, because how it kind of works with those bottom pools is you got to get into the top pool. So you really want to finish in that 1-2 so you can move up. So it is gonna be interesting. Where Belgium plays Sweden, right? So they're your first two seeds in group C right now. So that's a huge game for this.
somebody's O's gotta go.
So someone's got to go, and again with the Sweden team, like I'd probably give them the advantage a little bit just because they have guys that played at State Wars right in the play-in and stuff. So
Zach Pedersen,
yeah,
one
exactly.
of
So they have some guys in there that are going to help them out. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Jacob Tainmore,
Yeah, Tenmer. So that
and
you have guys in there.
he plays with Molina, with
Yep.
Chucky Slick and Mooney. So I mean, four Genos in one game. Guy can put the puck in the back of the net.
Very. So
But
that's gonna be that's a huge game. Kind of diving into it with like tomorrow's games. Yeah, it's a huge game for them. That's pretty much your playoff game right there. And then yeah, so
dude,
you
is
got
they're there. Yeah, I was like, "Where's Switzerland?" And we got Switzerland. Our boy Lucas Dietrich.
yeah, he's my boy. I love that guy. That guy, he's so funny. He like doesn't speak a lot of English, but like when he says something, like you're just like, what a guy. Like he's
Yeah,
just when he
he's a
says
beauty.
something, he means it, and it's always funny. But it's more about his like facial expressions and things like that. Like him being on the beach in Huntington Beach, like he was just like shocked. Like he was like, what is? He was like so overwhelmed, but it was like so funny. So and again, Switzerland is in that bottom pool because they had a tough showing at the last World Skate Games in Argentina. So I didn't know they had a bunch of young guys on that team as well. I think they only had like 8 guys too, which these long games that you're not going to last, right? You need at least 12 to play in that. So,
I mean, they
um,
stuck away with the win. They got a 3-1 win
yeah,
against Namibia. So
Namibia, yeah,
that's a big win for them. But yeah, coming up, I guess you could say when you're listening to this today, September 18th, um, the bottom four games, they're going to be great games with Czech and Italy. That'll be a great game. Followed up by USA and France. Whoever wins that's going to be the first seed in their pool. And then Spain, Slovakia. Spain needs that win. Like they need a win bad.
yeah,
That game.
big way.
So that game
Yeah,
and
those games
that's
really are important, man. They really
yeah,
are. Look at that. The end of that day tomorrow, or the end of that night, kind of like middle of my day, kind of early morning or late morning of yours. And that's another thing that sucks. Like it's tough kind of watching some of these sometimes because it's like
got
right in the
work.
middle of a work day. Like, you know what I mean? I had the US Argentina game on like in the back of my work truck while we were working on the truck. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like tough to watch some of these games. And that's with the whole shift of moving into September, which it used to be in the summers, used to be like in July.
Yeah.
And used to get, different players because a lot of those ice guys have their summers off and they're able to compete in this. But now you do lose a little bit, maybe, a guy or two from each team in that regard, right? So even look at with USA, like Garrett Ross replaced Jack Combs, right? So even in that scenario, it's just US has a big pool to, draw guys from. So it does like change the dynamic a little bit, but that USA France game is going to be a big game. So it's going to be a good game or day three, I guess you would say. So, and then that's going to lead into the playoffs the following day. So obviously just keep up to date. You've been doing a lot of the posts with the daily scores and things like that. Because the website's not the hardest once you get used to it, but it's not the easiest to follow as well.
Yeah,
Because
it's
we're so
all
used to hockey shift with like State Wars, tours, and Narch all using it. So it's for us, that's like the easiest way to track everything. This is a little more difficult. They use a different system. So, but Rob always killing it with the graphics, making sure that everyone's up to date. So shout out to you for dialing it in, even though while you're selling cars, the NHL future stars. You know what I mean?
Nikolai Kovalenko, my boy from the Avs. Need a
And you got a
Tesla?
shout
I
out today,
got
right? From
you.
one of your beat writers, right? saying like he's an up and comer, like someone to look out for. So
Yeah, the NHL wrote that, bro. I didn't write the
no,
NHL
I know
wrote
you
that.
didn't. I thought it was like a beat writer in Colorado who wrote
No,
it.
I think it was so what it was, the NHL posted basically rookies to look out for this year. And
Gotcha.
I was looking at it and they're like everyone's like, I wish Hope Cutter Gauthier has a terrible career.
Coach, yeah, screw
Yeah,
that guy.
I was fucking
We
dying.
got Mish Cobb, baby.
Yeah, he's nasty. But yeah, so tomorrow's day 3, last of day of game pools and everything. The 19th, moving in on Thursday, that's gonna be the round of 16. So that's really gonna cut it down to the Sweet 16, baby. You're gonna have those teams jump up from C and D up there to be playing. So and it's just gonna go based off of like I think it's top 16. So
Yeah.
I know, you're gonna have 8, teams in it already with
Yep.
the A and B,
Yep.
and then you're gonna have to fill 4 more teams. So, obviously Sweden's gonna get in, Mexico, I could see getting in, Belgium and Great Britain. Those are like, my bets too.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Germany, they're in first place in Group D, so they could probably
mhm.
jump up. And again, they're another one that I've played them before. Like they have like one line, but after that, it's like a crapshoot. So, they'll probably sneak in. And
I
it's
could see
crazy. Like,
Mexico and Sweden being the ones to like make some noise
yeah.
from that division.
I mean, listen, you have a little bit of a tie to Mexico. We got a little bit of a pull for Mexico, right?
I
Like
do, yeah,
you got to
yeah,
pull
yeah.
for them a little bit, and like we know
I
a
do.
couple guys on the team and stuff. But like again, like just with all the ages that they played in with the junior women, junior like the whole nine, like they're definitely like making a little bit of a statement, just like couple years ago in Chinese Taipei, nobody expected them to jump up and win, and they came up and win.
Dude,
And then
talk about that game today, USA versus Chinese Taipei. And why do we call them Chinese Taipei? Aren't they Taiwan? I
I
mean,
think they like something happened with the countries. I'm not a
oh, so we're not allowed to say Taiwan.
I don't know, but I know it's
This
Chinese
is gonna get
Taipei
kicked
now.
off YouTube for saying
I
Taiwan.
don't know. We might get
I
canceled,
don't know.
but
Maybe we should ask them what they like more because their account says Taiwan inline hockey. So
right.
I just
So
assume. All
and
right, so
and, and
Taiwan versus USA today,
yeah,
dude. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I thought they were gonna come back and win that game. USA
Chinny had
played.
big saves at the end. He had to
Chinny
make like
played
two or three
sick.
good. He had a glove save at the end that was like because USA got in some penalty trouble towards the
Yeah.
end, which again we talked about the soft refereeing, obviously like the one with Ross, like he lays a body on the guy, it's a hit, right? But there was like a hooking one at the end that was just like erroneous. I think it was on Siggy, and then USA went down 4-on-2, right? And it was just like an erroneous call. Like the guy just like lost his footing behind the net,
I feel like
and
that happened. I think this rink sucks. Like
yeah.
everyone's falling everywhere.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I've never skated. I'm trying to think in the years I've played. Like, I don't
Dude,
think
I
I've
just seen
skated
like I
this
was
before.
watching the first game and it was like no fell out of nowhere and it was like that just would never happen.
Yeah,
Honestly.
no way. And like I played on this stuff. We played on some bad floors in China. We played on this Chinese ice court. It was like impossible to play on, right? But there's been some bad floors. The Argentina floor was like rough. It was the same thing, like an Argentinian company. But I know Joker's from Italy, right? Like the
Yeah.
floor company is from Italy, so that's why they probably used it. But it's funny because the Stillmat guys there, I see them all over like the socials and stuff. The guy are in still, and they're still using Stillmat pucks. So it's like interesting because
Yeah.
obviously we love the still mat floor. I'm, obviously with it at my rank too. I'm a huge advocate for it.
Fucking
But
rock hard.
yeah, it's like it's weird. But that game was tight. I mean, Chinese Taipei, they boxed up, obviously. And when you box up, it's always a pain in the ass to beat a box. And no
Yeah.
matter how you try to beat it, if you swing guys behind, you try to beat them with speed up the wing, try to hit the guy in the middle. There's all different ways to kind of break the box, but it does keep the game low scoring, and that's what happens. And if you're Chinese Taipei, you're hoping just to keep it close like they did. And it was pretty shocking. Like again, I was watching with my buddy and he was like, wow, this like is a lot closer than I thought. And he's like, he follows it to a degree, but he's not like a huge into it like we are, but he was even surprised. So but USA obviously, has the goal scoring that went along with it. And I think they scored all 3 goals in the first period, right? They didn't score a goal in the second period. So interesting.
Yeah,
And
yeah. Yeah, I think you're all right about that.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it went. It was
Yeah,
three.
all three. Yeah, because you had Della scored that goal as like a rebound, and then you
Yep.
had Hodge and then Tino score. So or I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
Hodge from Ross. But yeah, they, and that Taiwan team, I guess you could say, Chinese Taipei, they're a young team too. It's a lot of those guys that we were talking about from junior men's from last 2 years ago, and they played good. Chinny mate just stood on his head, 18 shots on net, and then USA had 31 shots on net too. I want to get this name right, Sheng Chun Hung. So
Pretty good.
shout out to him, playing unbelievable as well.
And that was my biggest question is what's their goaltending going to look like, especially when you get a
Pretty
goalie in there
good.
with number 99. So that's you always got to
Yeah,
question
number
that.
99 and 20.
You
That's
always got to question that when you have 99, 69, 20, like some erroneous numbers on there. But hey, one thing I noticed, and I don't know if this is, and maybe Eton can
you
share
guys
it.
notice that Greg Thompson's on the roster?
Yeah, so
Number 89.
I actually chirped him about that. I said, "What are you playing, Greg?" And I think they put him on the roster. I don't know. He said he didn't even bring his gear, so he's definitely out. But know what I noticed? Speaking of numbers, Eton's wearing 8. I don't know if you noticed that he's
Yeah, that is
only
true.
wearing
Yeah.
double zero or wearing 0. And I almost thought it looked like it was taped to make it an 8. Like it was like World Skate had like a rule against it. You can't be number 0 or something. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe we'll have to ask him about it. But I noticed he's wearing 8. I wonder if that's for any
Dude,
particular
he's gone
reason.
around with numbers because he used to be 7. Like
Yep.
he was like
Yeah.
7,
He had
0.
70 something, I think. Yeah, like
And then
I don't
number
know,
one,
walk 70 something. So
78.
yeah, 78. Yeah.
He was number 1 for a while. Um, yeah, it
That's
just
so
ran.
Eton.
It's just Eton, He just does what Eton.
He he had a couple nasty goals in the Argentina game
Oh,
too.
dude, that freaking back just threw it up top shelf. The third goal, disgusting.
Yeah, it was gross. But yeah, I
No.
noticed he was wearing number 8, and I was like looking at it because from the stream it looked like 0, and then I was like, oh, he's wearing 8. So I thought that was interesting too. But yeah, I was very interested. I was like, man, a 99 goalie. That's a tough look.
Yeah,
But
it is
in
tough.
Chinese Taipei a couple years ago, they were rotating the goalies, not like on a regular player shift, but like they would split the game, like not at intermission, but like halfway through a period, they would call timeout, put a new goalie in, and then have the goalie come back in, and then have a goalie finish it. So it was like they were playing quarters within the two halves. So it was weird. So they didn't do it this time, but
Chess, not checkers, baby. Chess,
yeah,
not
you
checkers.
start doing something over there. I don't know
Yeah.
what, but maybe they figured something out. I don't know. They did
They know something we don't know, bro.
dude. It was
They're getting
crazy.
the
Like
Russian gas on the sidelines.
maybe they're shipping it down or something. I don't
Yeah,
know.
the
Does it even
Taiwanese
down? I
gas.
don't know. but
All right,
but yeah,
dude. Well, I think that concludes our little recap of the World Skate Games. Little halfway break through the senior men's. So we'll be back with a championship recap of the senior men's and just the whole, I think, of everything. We're going to grab a USA women's player as well, too. Just kind of do one big one. I think that'll be pretty sick. And maybe we can grab one of the Slovakians if they, I'm sure they know how to speak English. Like we're just
yeah. Usually they do.
Americans are just idiots and we only know how to speak
They're
one
idiots.
language. Everyone else can speak like
I
three
took 6 years
languages.
of French, and I don't know shit.
And
So
quiero un café. So
damn, that
yeah,
sounded
dude, you know how
British,
I do.
bro.
I need me a coffee, bro.
Gringo. Yeah.
All
Yeah, I
right,
mean,
guys. Well, we'll be back with another edition of the RDN Roller Show in Canada. Don't hate me, but I just had to say it.
someone had to say it.